Hello and welcome back to yet another edition of Qsports Live on QTV with me, Pakaba Suso, in the company of Mr. Ade Drame. It's another Saturday and it promises to be an exciting sports program. Welcome to the program, Mr. Ade.
Once again, thank you for inviting me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you very much, Mr. Ade. And of course, coming ahead in this edition, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Bakari Baji, believes that the Gambia will host the 2026 CAF qualifiers at the Independence Stadium after touring the Independence Stadium, and we will be talking about that and the significance of it. And also the 2026 WAFCON draw produces some exciting fixtures as defending champions Nigeria reunion with Zambia, while Morocco, the hosts, have been handed North African derby in Algeria. Plus, Sadio Mane's destroys Salah's AFCON dreams again as Senegal seal a place into the AFCON final, where they will face the hosts Morocco, who triumph over Nigeria in the other semi-final. So plenty to talk about in this edition of Qsports. But first, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Bakari Baji, who is confident that the Gambia will host the June AFCON qualifiers at the Independence Stadium. He made these statements after having a press briefing with the media. It happens while he was having an inspection tour around the Independence Stadium. Here is Ansumana Esonyasi.
Advised by the technical committee, the project aims to restore the Independence Stadium's eligibility to host CAF-sanctioned international matches. Previously declared non-compliant, the facility is undergoing major structural safety and accessibility upgrades. Notably, the seating capacity has been reduced to 12,000 from earlier estimates of 25,000, prioritizing safety, crowd management and compliance with CAF and FIFA standards. Minister Baji stresses that the reduced capacity is necessary to meet modern safety regulations and secure approval for international events.
In the final safety inspection, they recommended that we need to have this because they have added those as a requirement for new stadiums to have. So this is more like if there is an issue on the stands or there's an emergency, not everybody can exit through the normal route that they came in. Others can be able to use the staircases to come down for easy access to assemble in the middle of the pitch.
Among other things, the Youth and Sports Minister said the stadium is being fitted with multiple new emergency exits to improve crowd control and allow quick evacuation, in line with CAF and international safety standards. Surveillance is also being upgraded with the installation of 40 additional CCTV cameras to ensure full coverage of spectator areas, entrances, exits and the pitch. For the first time, the stadium will include dedicated facilities for persons with disabilities, including a specially designed accessibility platform with ramps and reserved seating, meeting CAF inclusivity requirements and significantly improving accessibility.
In the past, people with disability or those physically challenged would normally come in with their wheelchair and sit around underneath the pavilion. Now that CAF is changing now that we must have a designated area for them. If a stadium was constructed from the onset, it will normally have it somewhere on top and they can use the elevator and go up. In stadiums like this, then you have to create a platform for them.
The renovation also includes upgrading the athletics track to international standards, allowing the stadium to host regional track and field events and improve training for Gambian athletes. Engineers from the Ministry of Works are overseeing the project, with lead consultant Ibrahim Akoli confirming that the hybrid grass pitch is being reinforced with modern turf technology, improved drainage and irrigation for better durability and playability. This will be followed by a final inspection by CAF before the stadium can host official matches.
It's just a few days' time, we will start the seeding. The artificial turf that is there before is there. We did not remove it. We just add some sand on top of it to have a reinforcement and put new seed on it.
The Independence Stadium, the Gambia's primary sports venue since its opening in 1984, and despite a major renovation in 2011, fell short of CAF and FIFA standards, resulting in bans on international matches. The phased renovation, launched in 2022, addresses these gaps. Once completed, the upgraded stadium will be able to reclaim its status as a premier venue for national and international sporting and other events, offering a modern, safe and inclusive facility for athletes and spectators while enhancing.
All right, thank you very much. That was Ansumana Eso Nyasi there on the minister's tour of the Independence Stadium and, of course, the ongoing works being done and the expectations. Immediate reactions, Mr. Adi?
My immediate reaction is it's welcoming to hear those remarks, but I'm too old to get excited about a promise. And I wait and see till after the final inspection, and inshallah we'll be given the go-ahead. You know, we'll get a sort of a tick in the right box to say, yes, you can now start hosting the matches. And then once that happens, let us see how we manage it. We have a very, very poor record when it comes to maintenance of anything, from roads to infrastructure, you name it, whether it's schools, hospitals, anything. And so, yes, initial one is excited because we really have been deprived over these last few years of not being able to see the national team, particularly in what has been an exciting time for the national team play at its own home stadium. And you know, when you look around Mauritania, Cabo Verde, Senegal, our near neighbors, and you see their stadiums, it kind of puts us very much to shame. So yes, let's hope this is a good sign.
And it seems like in terms of the other aspects, like for example the conditions of the dressing room, the toilet, and other facilities, it seems there is no real problem in those aspects, but the area that CAF is more concerned. In fact, the main reason why they did not approve it was because of the condition of the pitch.
That's right. The playing surface has to be what they refer to as international standards. For many years, CAF had kind of let it go, where you'd go and you see something and it looks like a village. I'm not saying that ours did, but it wasn't in the best of conditions. But in other African countries, I remember in Sierra Leone at one time, they faced similar problems, where the stadium, Shaka Stevens Stadium, the pitch was in a dreadful condition, and they were also not able to play their matches. In fact, they still can't play their matches at their stadium. So yes, that has to be something that we very much focus on, improving the playing conditions, because when you go somewhere else and you see good pitches, why shouldn't we have good pitches? Another aspect is the hugely reduced capacity. I mean, that is, came to me as a shock. I thought they might knock maybe 5,000 off, but they've halved.
I think initially it is 25,000.
25 down to 12,500. That's a huge thing. But as they say, it's about safety. I mean, because for many, many years we've been going to African stadiums where seats are very tightly packed together. I went to a match years ago in Sierra Leone, Ghana, 1996, I think it was, or 97. And the stadium was full to twice its capacity. They even had people sitting on what was meant to be the stairway, because obviously Ghana, a big team, they had Abedi Pele and all these people at the time. Those days are gone. And
I was wondering whether there could have been the possibility of maintaining the capacity, or even at least, let's say, dropping maybe 5,000, at least to have maybe 20,000 capacity.
Yeah, I mean, as I said,
because this is the only national stadium.
It's the only one,
and it's going to be like big international matches.
Yeah,
imagine if Gambia
12,500. That's so tiny. I mean, I know Gambia is a small country, but you and I know that if the national team are playing, you could sell 50,000 tickets. So it really is a shock. And as I said, to me, when I heard it, that was the biggest shock for me. Was the huge reduction. I suspected that CAF and the authorities, FIFA and others, were going to insist on a reduction, but I didn't realize it was going to be to that magnitude. It's it's massive.
And for safety reasons too.
They say it's for safety reasons, and we have to go along with that. We can't say, we want it to be more just because we want more people in there. Safety has to be paramount.
And with regards to other upgrades too, in terms of security, in terms of accessibility, and also facilities for people, for persons with disability.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they've enforced that one on us, because really, when I first came to the Gambia, it's one of the things I noticed, that almost no buildings have access for people with wheelchairs, for example. In Europe and in America now, you can't get planning permission for a public building without having disability access. We don't have that in law here in the Gambia yet, but it should be.
It should be, yeah.
And so we've been forced into doing that, and I'm glad that they've forced us into having to do that, that we have to cater for people with disabilities and, of course, people with wheelchairs and so on. So, yes.
The need for inclusivity and all that.
Absolutely. They want to watch football too, you know. Why should they be excluded or kind of, you know, put in some inconvenient space? So, yeah, I'm pleased about that.
And it's crazy to think that, like, these are some things that we ignore.
we ignore them to the extent where it doesn't even come on the radar, really.
Yeah.
It is only when you go to other countries
yeah.
and you see that, they're like, oh, like for example, when I went to Anfield and you know, watched Liverpool Southampton about 3-4 years ago, and you see the disability, because even though those football clubs, they had to make those adjustments. It didn't come as natural to them. The law forced them to do it, and they've done it, and they've done it very well. And we've been forced to do it as well.
Yeah. We had Bakary Jammeh talking about the economic implications of not being able to host games at the Independence Stadium.
Look, you know, when there's a match, it's not just the stadium authorities who suffer by not being able to collect tickets. Everybody who's around there who's selling Afra and whatever, you know, the crowds going to and coming from the games, all of those people lose out as well. I mean, we tend to think of just the authorities losing out in ticket sales, but it's those people as well.
And in fact, that reminds me of these big international matches. I always like to buy groundnut and have my little bit of like juice, and then enjoy the game.
You enjoy the game, and you pop in your groundnut and you drink in your Fanta or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
So the economic gains is massive.
It's huge because and again, when we think of the numbers, the reduction in numbers, that's also going to have an impact.
Exactly.
Because imagine the difference between taking money from 25,000 people to taking money from 12,500 people or less. Then you know it's not ideal. It was. I repeat, it was a shock to me that it was reduced to that number.
Wow.
But we have to go along if it's for safety.
So with that kind of capacity, like how can we categorize that?
I mean, it's going to be very difficult, you know, when it comes to, you know, because you can imagine for every home game, tickets will sell out like that. Even if it was double that, tickets would sell out very, very quickly. And so you then have to say, okay, how is the pricing going to work? You know, because you have to still make it affordable. Because yes, we know, because if you think about it, they would have calculated the kind of economic benefits of a 25,000 crowd. Okay, how much can we gain from them? And now it's reduced by half. You think, okay, do we bring the prices up, or do we keep them at the level that they were going to be if we had 25,000, if we were able to accommodate 25,000? So those are some of the considerations. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the pricing system will work, so that, you know, ordinary people can get to see their beloved teams. And of course, we're talking about the Scorpions all the time, but also the running track.
The athletes.
And also for the athletes as well, that has to be. So I suspect what will happen is that to kind of make up for it, you'll see, as has happened at places like Emirates, at Wembley Stadium, they're using the stadium for other things rather than just sport. So concerts and other events will take place there because they have to earn the money. That they're not going to get from having the 25,000 crowd that they were expecting.
And interestingly too, we will have to wait and see whether it will be another disappointment.
No, fingers crossed that it will not be.
Of course. You know, I remember the last time they said everything was.
That's perfect. What we were told.
We were told that everything was done and dusted, and this inspector came and he did his job, and he was not happy.
He went away.
And I hope that will not repeat itself.
We hope it doesn't happen again. Because
because that's the assurance we get from the minister himself.
And you took the words right out of my mouth. The minister is not the inspector. The inspector is the inspector.
Exactly.
The minister, you know, on camera and behind the scenes, he's bound to say, I'm pleased with the progress I've seen. But he's not the one who makes the decision. The inspector or inspectors are the ones who make the decision, and those are the people we have to please, not our minister, with all due respect. So he might be pleased with it, but he's not the one who has to make the call.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Ade. And now let's shift our attention to something else really important, the 2026 WAFCON draw, which produces some exciting fixtures as defending champions, Nigeria face Zambia, while Morocco, the host, will play their North African rivals in Algeria. This is the Women AFCON 2026. It promises to be an exciting.
It really does, and hopefully we'll have video of when the draw was being made. It was quite a lavish event, and as you said,
lavish event, yeah.
Really, everybody was there. Sort of huge stars, kind of past and current footballers, as well as the CAF president was there, Motsepe was there. And as you said in your lead up to it, it's thrown up some exciting games. And one thing you mentioned to me off camera before we came on was about the fact that it's going to be hosted by Morocco again. They're the only ones who currently have the facilities, because it's now 16 teams that are taking part. And they're the only
from
ones
12 to 16.
That's right. Yeah. So they're the only ones who kind of put their hands up and say, yes, we can accommodate. Because for them, it's also a practice run for the fact that, they've bid and been successful for the World Cup.
But Mr. Adi, what does this say?
About the rest of Africa, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It says quite a lot. But what it also says is that in Morocco, the king has been very, very much vocal about wanting to use sport, particularly football, as a unifying force, as a galvanizing force, because like every other country in Africa, the majority of the population are youth. And he knows and has tapped into the fact that a lot of the youth love football. And that's why they're beyond delighted that their team got to the semi-finals of the World Cup, and are now in the final of the AFCON, which we'll get to later. And so they have spared no expense. People were criticizing them. We have to be fair. Even before this current AFCON started, there were protests. People saying, in the streets, people saying, you're spending all this money on sport, but look at how it has galvanized. And the king was right. It has been a unifying force. And even those Moroccans who were out protesting are now pleased that their team are in the final with the opportunity to win. And so they put a lot of money into infrastructure. And you wonder why other countries that also have oil wealth, Angola, Nigeria, haven't done so.
Yeah, done so.
And, the infrastructure helps athletes get to perform at home. You don't play your home games away, as we are having to do. And you do that by investing. And it's been a combination of, yes, the state has put in a lot of the money, but he's also brought along in Morocco the private sector to get involved.
They also have played their role.
They play their role, and that's what we need to do, and that's what every other country, as you said, what does it say about the rest of Africa? Well, that's what it says, that you need to look at Morocco as the example and say, what have they done, how did they do it, and why is it that they've got, to this position? So yes, we look forward to the women's AFCON, in 2026.
And take us through the draw.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you mentioned, of course, Morocco are the hosts. And you mentioned they've been given, handed a local derby. And so they've got Algeria, Senegal, and Kenya in their group, which is Group A.
Wow. What a group.
It's a fantastic group. And to be honest, there are some really, really tough groups because, for example, you look at, I'll take them in alphabetical order. So Group A, we've just talked about Morocco, Algeria, Senegal, and Kenya. Group B, you've got South Africa, who were one of, just like the men, kind of disappointed in this AFCON. In the last WAFCON, South Africa had looked like the team to beat, and yet they didn't get to the final. They still got a good team. Desiree is still the coach. And so in Group B, you've got South Africa, you've got Cote d'Ivoire, you have Burkina Faso and Tanzania. So, I think in that group, in terms of women's football, South Africa are very much the kind of dominant team. And then Nigeria, who going into the last one, which they won, didn't look like they were going to win it. But once the competition started, they seemed to get better and better. And of course, played Morocco and fantastic game. And again, we talked about this AFCON being one of the best. The women's AFCON, which I've been watching for many years, that one was one of the best.
If not the best.
It probably the best,
Yeah.
actually, probably the best. And so really, really hopes are high for this one, that we're going to have another exciting one. So Group C, you have Nigeria, you have Zambia, you have Egypt, and you have Malawi. Nigeria, the overwhelming favorites to emerge from that group at the top of that group, certainly. And then finally in Group D, you have Ghana, Cameroon, Mali, and Cabo Verde. So you have 3 West African countries, and Cameroon, which is literally on the verge of West and Central Africa. So it's almost a kind of almost all West African teams, Cameroon being the only Central African team there. So again, in that group, Cameroon, over the years, their women, and if we remember their women at the World Cup, Cameroon women played really, really well. So they would be probably the top ones to emerge from
They've
Group
been
D.
improving.
Yeah, absolutely. They've improved, and they look a really good side. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I know, a lot of people who are into sports, they say, oh, women's football. But honestly, if you've been watching it for the number of years I have, and you've seen the improvements, it's massive. It's massive.
In terms of quality, in
terms of quality, in terms of tactics, coaching, you name it. And what is really pleasing for me is that a lot of the teams now have women coaches. And for many, many years, it was all male coaches that were coaching these teams that were getting to the top. But now some of the teams that are emerging, including the likes of South Africa, of course, it's a female coach. And that's a good thing to see.
And what do you make of the investment in female football?
Well, this is it. Again,
I mean, CAF are playing a very, very good.
CAF prize money is going up and up because they want, people to see this as a career for African women. I mean, in Europe now, you and I watch maybe sometimes the Women's Super League in England, or you watch the Women's World Cup, and when you hear, for example, in America, the women's national team are paid the same as the male national team. We'll probably never get to that point in any African country that I'm aware of, simply because generally men's football is way more popular in Africa than women's football. But in America, it's kind of equally competitive in terms of, I know now that Lionel Messi has gone there, he's kind of taken it to another level in terms of watching. But, the crowds that go and watch women's football in America, quite huge. So FIFA are trying to kind of encourage that and encourage all the African countries to kind of have, properly functioning women's leagues. League, not just a kind of as an afterthought. It should be something that you should concentrate on, you should build, and you build up. And because when it comes to the likes of the World Cup and so on, if you want to compete at that level, you have to invest.
You have to invest.
You have to invest.
Absolutely, you have to
and
invest.
That's what CAF is trying to push, and that's why, they're increasing the prize money, because they want it to be fed back into the women's game.
And I understand that as champions, Nigeria in the previous edition, they earned like $1 million.
Quite.
$1 million.
Yeah, quite.
And with a lot of bonus money.
And bonus.
And they were given like a plot of land, something
and
like
cars,
that.
plot of land, cars, and so on.
I mean, those kind of moments are inspiring.
They inspire anybody, So some young girl who's thinking, oh, I might want to be a footballer. But of course, you and I know that we have a very kind of patriarchal society in many African countries, and you have fathers who say, I want my daughter to, get married, have children, and so on.
Football is not for women.
Football is not for women, and so I've heard colleagues.
That's the kind of culture.
I've
probably
heard colleagues
have
here say that. In QTV. So it's not just kind of 60 and 70-year-old men who are saying this. And there are young men in their 20s and 30s saying such nonsense. Football is not for women. But to go back to your point, CAF, by doing this, they're trying to inspire people. And as you rightly say, when Nigeria won the last time, they were showered with so many gifts. And that has to be an inspiration that, if that happened to them, it can happen to me. So, long may that continue. And the game can only get better and better.
And what do you make of like the impact or the significance of expanding the teams who are participating, like from 12 to 16? Basically adding like 4 teams, right? 4
teams added. And the reason they've done it is for a variety of reasons. It's in the same way they've expanded the World Cup, but one of the reasons why they've expanded the women's AFCON is because the improvements across teams has been really, really good. And so they think, okay, well, let's not deny them that. And for me, I want to see Gambia women at the next Women's AFCON, the one after this.
Have you seen signs or reasons of?
The reason I say I want to see them there is that we need to be inspired by our absence from this.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
To galvanize the authorities, the private sector, to say, let us invest, and we could be there too. And our women can get to a final, can win a final, and we can then shower them with cars and land and money and so on. And that will inspire other young women. So yes, it's the expansion is well deserved.
It's well deserved. And with regards to the WAFCON, it's getting better. It is massive, and it is a route to the World Cup.
The World Cup. This is it, because it's not just they used to do this back in the day for the men's African champions. Yeah. To get to the World Cup, if you won, you could get to, and so they've done that. And again, that is something that can spur people on, can inspire them to say, oh, if we finish first, second, third.
Yeah, like these four semi-finalists.
That's right. So the ones who finish in the top four, it's a route to the World Cup. Right. I mean, what more do you need to inspire you? And
that will increase the level of competitiveness of the tournament.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to win. Nobody goes into a match taking anybody for granted and say, oh, they're from here, they're a small team. You have to go with the right mentality. And if you don't, you lose.
You lose, exactly. Interesting. And I remember watching the final last time between Nigeria and Morocco, the host. And I have to say, I was really, really impressed.
It's a fantastic game.
I was really impressed. And and after watching that game, I said to myself, really, women's football is really improving in Africa.
And I have to hold my hand up here and say that, having seen Morocco in the previous tournament to that one, I had tipped them to win that one, particularly because they were at home. And they kept most of that team, who in the previous tournament, some of them had been teenagers. And as you said, it was a fantastic final.
It was.
And it really was a credit to women's football.
Exactly.
And for those who like football, full stop, just watch it.
Massive advertisement for women's football.
Fantastic advertisement. And let's hope that sort of spirit carries on into this one and beyond.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adair. Viewers, you are watching Q Sports live on QTV with me, Pankaba Suso, and Mr. Adair Drame. We will take a short break. After the break, Q Sports continues.
Changing the game with mobile money payments. Now, you can pay your QCell mobile broadband plan faster, easier, and way more convenient with your QMoney wallet. Just open the QMoney app or dial *323#. Select option 4 to buy or pay your broadband plan in seconds. No stress, no lines, no last-minute panic. Whether you're streaming your favorite shows, browsing the web, or working from home, stay connected without missing a beat. Stay connected the easy way with QMoney's QCell mobile broadband payments anytime, anywhere. For more information, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Senior Carpet. Terms and conditions apply.
From your phone to the world, buy credit, buy Sunu bundle packages, loan credit with eFankanta, and buy Q Power all in one place.
And here's the real upgrade. QMoney is now fully integrated in the app. Send money, pay bills, save money so faster and easier than ever.
And for our entertainment lovers, stream QTV, Q Radio Live anytime, anywhere.
But that's not all. This upgrade also brings enhanced security features, smoother performance, and a brand new interface designed to save your time.
This is more than an app.
This is freedom at your fingertips.
Download the new QCell app today and unlock your digital life.
For more information, call our customer care on 111.
QCell, Sunubus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. You are watching Q Sports with me, Pankaba Suso and Ade Drame. Let's now shift our attention to the Africa Cup of Nations, the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, and we have reached
We reached the climax. This is what it's all been building up
Wow.
to. And finally we're there.
Yeah, and it's Senegal and the host Morocco. But first, Mr. Adedrame put the pieces together for us in this report.
They were the first to book their place in the final after a 1-0 victory over Egypt. It had been billed as the clash of former Liverpool teammates Sadio Mane of Senegal and Mohamed Salah of Egypt, both talismans for their respective teams. In the end, it was Mane who came out on top, scoring the game's only goal in the 78th minute. In the second semi-final, host Morocco finally overcame Nigeria 4-2 on penalties after a goalless match. Coming into the semi-final, Nigeria had been one of the most impressive sides in the tournament. However, they seemed to have saved their worst performance for this match, and that included their penalty kicks. So, Senegal and Morocco, two teams with one AFCON win each to their name, will face each other in Sunday's final. Before that, Egypt and Nigeria will have to shake off their semi-final disappointments to face each other in a third and fourth place decider in Casablanca on Saturday. The Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium in Rabat is where Sunday's clash will decide who will be crowned champions of Africa for a second time, after what has been an exciting tournament in which 16 teams set out at the start. By common consensus, it has been one of the best AFCONs ever. Let's hope the final.
Common consensus as one of the best AFCONs. Interesting piece there, Mr. Ali. But first, let's hear your thoughts on the semi-final matches, where Senegal did it again. No revenge for Egypt, and it was a day meant for Sadio Mane and Senegal as they triumphed over the Pharaohs, Egypt.
As one of the commentators in one of the English channels said, who writes this guy's scripts? Because it's like if it was a Hollywood movie, that's how Sadio Mane would have scripted it for himself. That yet again there was a clash between him and
Salah.
Salah. And it was nice to see them embrace at the end, and of course 78th minute, what had been a tight game, but the surprising thing about that, given Egypt's attacking strength, and that was also replicated in the Nigeria game, but we'll get onto that, was how little attacking Egypt did at all. It seemed as if they had set off to just be defensive and possibly take it to penalties. I don't know, but it seemed a very odd performance, and they only came out of their shell once they'd gone behind in the 78th minute. Then we saw the attacking threat that they carried. And for me, one of the most shocking statistics of the whole match was that their first shot, not even their first shot on target, first shot was in the 87th minute. First attempt at goal was in the 87th minute. And their first was in the 90th plus 7. That was on target.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but do you think that approach, do you think it is accidental or intentional?
It's, as I say, for a team that has such a threat, in terms of Marmoush, Salah, and
the likes of Trezeguet.
Why would you set out? So it's either Senegal forced them on the back foot, but it didn't look like that. Even, again, another shocking statistic was, I think, when it came to the end of the first half, the number of passes completed. I think Senegal had completed 230 passes, and Egypt only 73. That was shocking.
Yeah, definitely.
So it wasn't as if they were even trying to play on the counter or something. They just seemed content to have the whole match played in their half. And I found that quite... it's a strange one when if I'm a coach and I have such fantastic attackers, why would I play a defensive game? Because we always say that coaches play based on the players they have at their disposal. So if you have players at your disposal, Marmoush, Trezeguet, Salah, why would you be defensive?
And even Zidane.
Take it. And
that guy is good.
Take it to the opponent. But they didn't. They really just sat back. And then when they did go behind, we saw that they could play football, if you want to put it like that. It's been a kind of anti-football up to that point from them. And that was really strange. But Senegal, they did their thing. They did what they had to do. They were trying to attack. They were trying to break down. They were having shots. They were having shots on target. and eventually it paid off.
And what message does that dominant performance Senegal displayed so?
Yeah, well, you know, in my report, I had included the fact that these are the teams ranked 1 and 2 by FIFA in Africa.
In continent.
So, in a way, it kind of makes sense that the 2 of them ended up in the final. But, you know, Morocco, they're not going to be intimidated. They can always say, look, we got to the semi-final of the last World Cup. And we're at home. And we've got the crowd as the 12th man or woman. You know, 12th person.
It all counts.
It all counts, and they're pushing us on. And you know, of course, the person whose record didn't carry on was Brahim Diaz, who had scored in consecutive games, 5 consecutive games. He didn't, you know, wasn't able to carry that scoring on. But you know, in the Senegal game, you know, you said, what does that mean? It shows you that they've been consistent, that they have a really strong squad. Because even when you looked at the 11 and you looked at the bench, there were really good players ready to come on. And Morocco,
full of quality,
really good quality, and Morocco are in the same position. So
yeah, it should be. We will come to that later, specifically with regards to the final between Senegal and Morocco. But in your report, in the other semi-final between Nigeria and the host Morocco, you mentioned something that I find really quite interesting. With regards to Nigeria, who have been really brilliant in the group stages, even after that. Yeah. But it seems they have kept their worst performance until against Morocco.
As I said there, and what was interesting, I watched the match on Channel 4 in the UK. UK's Channel 4, and before the kickoff, the commentators were saying Morocco are really going to have a tough time because yes, they're the hosts and they have the crowd, but they are facing what has been the best team in the competition so far. That's how good they had been, really. But if anybody told you that based on that performance, you think, well, what are you talking about? They really did not turn up. Osimhen, you know, Lookman.
And can you see some reasons as to why they could not replicate that kind of performance they have shown before?
I really could not. I mean, I saw some nonsense just before I came on air about somebody saying that, you know, they cheated for Morocco. But nobody cheated for them. Nobody told you to take dreadful penalties, for example. No, it's a strange one. But we've seen it before, where a team that everybody thinks is going to turn up and turn it on, something happens on the day. I know that on the way to the stadium, their bus had an accident, but it wasn't a major accident. You know, it was a minor thing, and nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. So you can't even blame it on that, and you can't even say that because they were playing the host, they were intimidated. They didn't. You look at the players;
and
they're all
without
big.
Ndidi too.
Without Ndidi, and maybe we were kind of brushing off that, they've got a good squad, they're not going to miss Ndidi. But sometimes the captain being on the pitch, that leadership thing, that's missing, and that was definitely missing in that game. Nobody kind of seized the reins and took it to Morocco at all. At all, you know, and Morocco, yes, it was penalties, which can be a bit of a lottery. But if one team deserved to win based on attacking intent and trying to play football, it was definitely Morocco. I mean, no two ways about it.
And I don't remember seeing like Lookman being dangerous, Osimhen.
Where were they?
They were all silent.
They were anonymous in that game. And, you know, I watched it, I'm thinking, what am I watching?
Insane.
You know, it really was not the performance that anybody expected from them. And they must have left that pitch with a sense of bitter disappointment. I know it went to what we refer to as a lottery of penalties.
But like the guy who missed the penalty,
Chukwueze. I mean, what the hell was that?
Yeah, what the hell?
Are you in your back garden practicing?
I was really angry with him.
Listen,
what kind of penalty is that?
And Buba was telling me that it will be posted a blog where, you know, it shows him kind of arguing about, you know, because we'd said about this arguing about bonuses, whether that was going to be a distraction. We said no one. So you do wonder whether it was a distraction. But, you know, I watched Efan Ekoku on Channel 4, you know, former Nigerian player, and he was saying that this guy will regret that for the rest of his playing career.
It will haunt him.
Because you are in a semi-final You're playing for a team that so far had been the best team in the competition. You have not qualified for this year's World Cup. This is your World Cup.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Burst the net, hit it with venom. But that tame shot he took, it was so lame. It was my 90-whatever-year-old grandmother could have saved that. It was terrible.
It's sad.
It was a terrible
It's sad.
penalty.
And because of that, they lost, and they will only play for the
Third and fourth
third and
place.
played fourth place
That's-
against Egypt.
Egypt. Egypt also licking their wounds and you know, in disappointment. Obviously, record AFCON winners, Egypt. Everybody had kind of touted this as, oh, it's the last one for Mohamed Salah. And so he's going to really push his teammates on. And, you know, he had a decent tournament. And, of course, he now goes back to Liverpool. But, yeah, players going into third place, fourth place, you know, deciders, they don't go with much enthusiasm. And what you and I have tended to see is that the coach will use this as an opportunity for those players who didn't get much playing time to get at least saying, oh, I took part in this tournament. And if they get a medal at the end of it, a third place medal, it's better than nothing.
And quickly, for these two superpowers of African football in Nigeria and Egypt, how will you rate their AFCON?
Well, you know,
is it a success or is it somehow a failure?
Nigerians will slap me if I say it was a success because of how disappointing they were in the semi-final. But if you look at how they played in the rest of the tournament, one has to see it as a success. And for Egypt, of course, they are going to the World Cup. So for them, yes, disappointment that, you know, Mohamed Salah was not able to, if it turns out to be his last one, was not able to crown it with the thing. But we saw some young players on the fringes and on the bench who were brought on, and the future is good for both Nigeria and for Egypt, so they shouldn't despair.
That's right. Let's now talk about the final on Sunday. Senegal and the host Morocco. They've been both strong and they've been both intentional in their play. What do you make of this final? We have Senegal, we have Morocco.
For Senegal, it's a case of the usual suspects have all stepped up. You know, Sadio Mane scoring that goal against Egypt. For Morocco, it's been less so, although, you know, I talked about people like En-Nesyri and El Kabi being on the bench in first couple of games. I was like, but that shows you how good this team is.
Yeah, they have a lot of quality.
And then you have somebody like Brahim Diaz, who has been the kind of breakout star of this tournament. Many people knew him. This is his first tournament with the team, and he has really delivered. Definitely a man to watch.
Goals, contributions.
Absolutely. And, you know, the crowd have really taken to him because this is a guy born in Spain, potentially could have played for Spain, eventually threw in his lot and said, no, I want to play for where my parents are from.
And interestingly, I'm wondering whether we will see the same kind of approach, similar to Egypt, because it's a final. You know, people like...
Finals can be cagey.
Yes, it could be cagey. It could be like, you know, pragmatic. So maybe, you know, Senegal, they like to play. Morocco, they like to play. Are you foreseeing such kind of approach?
I think Morocco, driven by the crowd, cannot afford to take a cautious approach. Again, I go back to teams that have good players. Why would you?
Why would you?
When you had the added element of the crowd screaming in your ear, go forward, attack, 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 and you have the players to do it, why would you be cautious? But the way teams tend to lose finals is that they go into the final intending not to lose rather than to win. You have to go with the intention, we want to win this game, not we don't want to lose this game. And I've played in a final where that was the mentality, we don't want to lose the game, and you then end up not being your true self. But these two teams, as you said, with the attacking threat, having said that, we'll probably end up with a 0-0 and it might go to penalties yet again. But we hope that we won't get a disappointment of that sort. We hope we'll get an open game. And I suspect if anybody wins it, will be close, 2-1, 3-2, something like that. I don't see any team blowing the other away. If
Yeah.
that happens, if somebody gets sent off, that could happen.
Yeah.
But if there's 11 against 11 for the 90 minutes, I suspect it will be quite a tight game.
And both teams have, African coaches.
Yeah.
And what
Something
Dr.
I'm very
said-
pleased about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that shows like the quality also in terms of our coaches.
You look across the teams, the majority of our teams now have got African coaches.
Yeah.
Nigeria,
And they've won it too.
Egypt.
Like I remember for
MS
Senegal,
Yeah.
Aliou Cissé.
Cisse,
Yeah.
MS Faye.
Yeah, MS Faye, yeah, with Ivory Coast, yeah.
With Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, Côte d'Ivoire.
So yeah, Gajaga will tell you that on my very first Qsports, when we talked about AFCON, that was the thing that I was banging on about because I was having an argument. I can't remember the guy's name, a Gambian journalist, because he was saying that these African teams won't win unless they get these foreign coaches, which I thought was nonsense.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was nonsense then. I think it's even more nonsensical now. And it's now proven the point. Going into tomorrow's final, Sunday's final, one of the teams win it, whichever, it's an African coach.
Absolutely.
So it tells you that.
Yeah. And with regards to the level and the standard of officiating in the AFCON, up to this point, there have been concerns.
There have been some concerns, but some of the concerns that you've heard are the type you get when there's a home team playing. And you'll hear people talk about a hometown or home team decision. There are certain decisions that get given against, you foul, for example, you foul Brahim Diaz and 40,000 people scream. You probably weren't going to give a yellow card, but the 40,000 voices in your ear prompt you to reach for your yellow card. And so that's been one of the criticisms that, on occasion, even some of the top coaches seem to have been swayed by the crowd, the anger. And I think one of the things they really have to curb is this thing about players surrounding the referee. They really must go back to when FIFA had said, if anybody is going to approach a referee to question, it has to be the captain and nobody else. But we still see players swarming around, and that can influence a referee, because you start thinking, oh, well, was I wrong not to give that decision? Because look, all these guys are harassing me saying I should have yellow carded that person. And so that really, they have to be strong. Somebody like Colina, you and I know, he won't take any such nonsense.
No.
And referees have to
Before
say, I'm the person in charge. If do anything, you're off. So I think that for me, if there is any disappointment, it has been that those sorts of some of the decisions that should have been given were not given, and in many cases they favoured, sad to say, the hosts.
And I think sometimes also if you are playing against the host, sometimes it can play into your mind. Especially for the Senegalese.
Well, this is it. It will start playing into your mind because that is a spur. What you say to your team, if you're the Senegal coach, is that you have to beat these guys regardless of whatever any official is going to do to obstruct you. Don't put it into your mind that the official is going to favor them. Play your game. We've seen how good we've been coming into the final. Take it to them and destroy them on the pitch, and so that there are no excuses and so on. Just be careful with your tackles, because you fly into a tackle, as I say, and somebody fouls, Hakimi or Diaz, and 50,000 people scream, yellow card or red. So, that will be on their minds. But you have to play your game and just try and win.
And of recent, it seems like host nations are the teams that are winning the AFCON. Cameroon, Ivory Coast. I think Senegal, right?
Senegal.
Yeah, and now it seems it could be. We could have also Morocco. I mean, it means like that home advantage plays a massive role.
It can do. First time South Africa won it, they were the hosts. But over the years it hadn't. But as you rightly say, recently, and of course now we have a host in a final, and they didn't get there by mistake. Let's be honest. As I said,
we have to give them that.
They're the top ranked FIFA ranked team in Africa right now. So they're there as of right, but they're there with the number 2 ranked team. And I think Senegal just have to say, look, we are the equal of these guys. Home, whatever, host nation, we don't care. We'll play our game. But the interesting thing is the majority of Gambians I've spoken to are supporting Morocco, which I find very odd. And if you're not in Gambia, you probably find this very odd, but that is the truth. The majority of Gambians are rooting for Morocco, just as they were rooting for Egypt in the semi-final. I find it totally bizarre, but then I'm not Gambian, so that probably tells you why I will never get Gambian citizenship.
I mean, what will Gambia gain if Senegal wins?
Gambia will gain nothing, but this country who has Gambia in an embrace geographically, there is this kind of sibling rivalry.
Exactly.
It has to be, but it's kind of almost one-sided, I have to say, because I've been to Senegal, admittedly only 4 times, and not for long. I think the longest was about 10 days.
10 days.
I never got the sense that they had the kind of same sort of anti-Gambian sentiment that I find in the kind of anti-Senegalese sentiment that I find in Gambia. I didn't see it, but maybe I wasn't there long enough. I know they think that they're a better country and they think they're superior, but I mean, somebody can only be superior to you if you think you're inferior to them. So think you are their equal and there's no problem. You know? You know.
Interesting. I mean, you know, and then you see sometimes, in fact, if you look at some of these Senegalese players, some of them, like, you know, this Gambia and Senegal is like one country. We have so many things in common. Almost everything in common. And Jackson, even Sadio Mane, some of those big players, they had passed through here. And they have really strong relations and connections with the Gambia.
Yes, I mean, one of the things that really brought this thing home to me was years ago, after Senegal had done very well at the Japan-Korea World Cup 2002. And I happened to be in the Gambia, and El Hadji Diouf was in a nightclub. He got into a fight. And because he's that kind of player, he's that kind of person. But he was asked on TV, and I heard the interview, and he was saying, but, you know, we're all brothers. And he said, no. He said, when it comes to football, it's war. He said, Gambia are not our brothers. They're the enemy.
That's you know, that's the kind of personality he has.
And that really kind of angered people.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because, you know, at the time, people were quite pleased at how Senegal were doing, because Gambia were nowhere football-wise. But now that we've got a much better team, of course, it's changed.
And finally, Mr. Ade, we are running out of time. Will you go for it?
In terms of
the prediction?
Prediction, I'll tip Senegal to shock the host Morocco and win maybe 1-0 or 2-1.
Wow. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ade. Well, viewers, this is all we have got time for in this special edition of Qsports with me, Pankaba Suso and Ade Drame. Until next Saturday, bye-bye.